Muy buenos días a todos. Espero que se encuentren de maravilla ya por estos lugares. Ya veo que ya se están conectando las personas, los invitados principales del día de hoy. Entonces les damos la más cordial bienvenida a este webinar, este último webinar de este 2024, el cual nos da muchísimo gusto presentarles a todos ustedes. Y creo que va a ser un webinar muy bueno. Ahí, perdón, tuve que hacer un pequeño cambio en la presentación, pero bueno, ahora sí, iniciamos unos minutos. Bienvenidos, yo soy Hugo González, soy coordinador de operaciones de Proyectum S.A. Entonces, voy a estar aquí haciendo la introducción a este webinar que en unos momentos se va a llamar de esta forma. Entonces, pero quisiera antes de que comenzáramos, vamos a dar unos cuantos minutos, obviamente, para que se vayan conectando todos, para que nos vayan avisando de dónde se están conectando. Digo, ya ahí tenemos ya algunos mensajes. Vamos a ver. Eh, reactivar la inter... Ah, perfecto. Vamos a hacer eso rápidamente. Mm, ok, dice saludos desde Querétaro, saludos desde la Ciudad de México, de Aida Cervantes, Susana Nava, buenas tardes para todos, saludos desde Chile, buenos saludos desde Costa Rica, Guatemala. Mi queridísimo Jorge, ya se están conectando de todas partes.
Qué nervios.
Ok, también avisarles, ahí ya está lista la interpretación. Avisarles que este webinar puede ser escuchado. Ahí tenemos el botón de interpretación para la traducción de inglés al español, para los que necesiten este servicio. Ahí está el buen Daniel ayudándonos con este gran servicio. Saludos desde Santiago de Chile, dice Jorge Atvis. Claudia, ahí ya se me fue, desde Honduras, Costa Rica, Ciudad de México, impresionante de todos los lugares donde nos están viendo. Y bueno, pues mi queridísimo George, muy buen día. Yo sé que estos días en Ciudad de México, déjenme les platico, ha estado haciendo frío, un buen frío, y las enfermedades han estado al tiro, decimos acá, ¿no? O sea, han estado al punto. Y mi querísimo George, con todo y que tiene un gripón de aquellos, está presente aquí. Te doy la más cordial bienvenida, amigo.
Muchas gracias, Hugo.
Pues
Buenas tardes a todos. Primero que nada, pues muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos esta mañana. Hoy tenemos nuestro último webinar del año y la verdad es que tenemos un panel de lujo, porque personas con las que yo he tenido la oportunidad de colaborar, yo les aseguro que son rockstars en el mundo de negocios. Ellos son muy activos, están a cargo del Business Agility Institute, una de las voces más influyentes en el mundo de la agilidad de negocios. Y bueno, Evan y Laura, que es el fundador del instituto y Laura es la directora actual del instituto, pues nos van a hacer favor de platicarnos o sea, vamos a hablar, es una plática entre amigos, vamos a estar conversando acerca del último reporte de agilidad de negocios. Es un reporte que han hecho, el instituto ha hecho por al menos 4 años. Abundamos más en esto. Y bueno, ya se notan algunas tendencias, algunas situaciones en el mundo y particularmente en Latinoamérica. Entonces, voy a hablar en inglés a partir de ahora. Welcome, Evan and Laura. Thank you very much for being here. Evan, it's very early in the morning in Australia, and I really appreciate your effort to share with us. Thank you very much. And Laura, it's always a pleasure speaking with you guys. I'm sure we will enjoy this conversation.
Yes, well, thank you for having us. We're looking forward to doing this.
Thank you. Muchas gracias.
Okay.
buenísimo. Pues antes de comenzar, Jorge, ya que entremos en materia, quiero recordarles a todos nuestros asistentes que para poder obtener el PDU que ofrece esta actividad, es importante tener un mínimo de 55 minutos conectados durante esta actividad y obviamente tener una participación activa. Y las constancias de este específicamente este webinar se estarán entregando en los próximos 15 días previo al cierre del año. Y también recordarles rápidamente, tenemos unas constancias pendientes. Si hay alguien que no les ha llegado su constancia del webinar pasado, se les estará llegando, se les estará llegando, bueno, les llegará en breve también. Así que, mi queridísimo Jorge, el micrófono es todo de ustedes. Muchísimas gracias y bienvenidos a todos.
Thank you. Well, just to give some context, how many years have you been doing this kind of report? It's a global survey about the state of business agility. How long? How many years, Evan?
So this would be the 7th year.
Seven.
We started the Business Agility Institute founded in 2017, and the first Business Agility report was published in 2018. So it's been quite the journey, lots of insights, but we've been collecting data now for almost a decade. It's been good.
Good, good. I wonder if you have in mind that it's a commitment doing this kind of surveys, global surveys, because I know it takes a lot of work. So
Oh, and each year we publish the report, and almost immediately we start gathering the data for the
for the next
next
year,
one. And it is a lot of work to publish a research report of this size, particularly with the amount of analysis that Evan leads the team to do. So, but I think it's good.
yeah, good works, and thank you, because there is quite a few information about how the business agility world is moving, and this is one of the, I mean, of the very uh, specific source that to look for in order
Yes.
to be aware of how the business agility world is moving. Okay, going into the report of this year, Evan, I would like to your opinion about what factors contributed to the sharp rebound in business agility maturity in 2024 after the challenges of the last year, the previous year.
So absolutely. So for context, for everyone who's listening who may not have seen the reports in previous years, since about 2018, 2019, we've seen a steady increase in business agility, even through the pandemic. 2020, 2021, we saw slower increases, but still increases. And there was this, through the pandemic, we saw people really coming together, working together. 2023, we saw a massive drop. So last year's report. Capabilities, organizational capabilities like act as one or prioritize, something so important we say it 3 times, dropped substantially. And a lot of that was driven by the economic crises that emerged globally after the pandemic, after COVID-19 swept the world. Well, I mean, it still is sweeping the world, but after the crisis swept the world. Now, what does this? All these organizations, they were laying off people, tens of thousands of employees. There was the call back to the office, and the promise of work from home being taken away from people. So we saw this massive drop in confidence, this massive drop in organizations' ability to be human-centric. And this year, however, we saw not just an improvement, but a massive improvement. If you were to draw a trend line from like 2018 onwards, not only have we just ignored the dip that was last year, we've gone up.
Okay.
Now, there are two reasons that we believe has driven this increase. The first is that these economic crises are still happening. I don't think anyone believes that they're over, but organizations there's a renewed focus on resiliency and adaptability in response to these economic crises, which, of course, resiliency and adaptability are key attributes of business agility. The second reason, and this might sound somewhat contradictory to some of you, is that I think for the first time, almost ever, business agility has come out of the shadow of agile. And historically, in many organizations, business agility, which is it's a humanistic form of running a company. Our heritage is agile, but business agility is not agile. But a lot of transformations, organizational transformations, either started from an agile transformation or were associated, tightly coupled with that. And as we've seen the investment in capital A agile very specifically, as that investment has decreased, organizations are continuing to go, well, we still need this business agility thing. And so they're investing specifically in business agility outside of the context of agile. Laura, was there anything you wanted to add to that sort of cover?
Yeah, I think you've captured it very well. I think the other thing is 2024 is the year that business is finally acknowledging that we're not going back to how life was before the pandemic. And there is limited funds that have been that businesses have available to invest in their growth. And in order to really get the return on investment that they need to get better at things like prioritizing what they work on, which then has driven an improvement in business agility. So it's a little ironic, but finally we're deciding life has fundamentally changed, period.
Yeah, I like the way you pack the meaning of business agility, the human, how do you say, the human-centric way to run business, right?
Right. It's human-centric ways of working or operating your business. Yes.
That's a great definition. Thank you. Laura, I see that I saw that it is some kind more than 35% of improvement in prioritization. Is how do you see this improvement in prioritization with the success in the organizations that are always constrained, resource constrained environment?
I think has been driven by just necessity of realizing that there's only a limited amount of money companies have to spend on the work to create their future products and services, to improve how they work, everything like that. And there is in English, we say a 900-pound gorilla. So I hope Danny can translate this well into Spanish. But the big thing right now is companies want to invest a ton of money into artificial intelligence. And that is a very expensive endeavor. And so companies are being forced to really prioritize because more than ever now, they only have $100, let's say, to invest, and they have things they really want to do that cost maybe $500 altogether. So they have to make those hard decisions. So I think that is what's driving it. As far as I can tell, organizations are still not good at reprioritizing, at planning capacity to match priorities, and in frankly communicating what the priorities are so that everybody knows what the priority is. So, I spoke recently at a conference on this, and one of the statistics I found that was interesting is about a third of the individual contributor team level people in a company have no clue what the priority is for the company. And on a day-to-day basis, they just decide what they think they should work on. And so think of all the waste in organization. So we still need to work hard on prioritization. It's getting better, and it's an opportunity that 2025 is a year to continue the improvements.
Okay, thank you, Laura. Yeah, prioritization is always a challenge for all organizations. There are a lot of
Yeah.
things to do and so little time and so little money.
Yes.
Now, we all know, I'm sorry. Sorry. We all know that the leadership is changing. The, the way people lead their teams is and what this is for both. I would like to know what are the most critical behaviors in leadership that foster business agility and overcoming these outdated leadership practices, the control and command and all that stuff. What do you think, guys?
This is one of the things I love about doing webinars with Evan is I have no clue what he's going to say, and I really want to hear his answer. I have an answer in the back of my head, so let's see if we have the same thoughts or different thoughts.
Are you going to put me first? Great.
I
Okay.
love you.
So, uh, for those, again, for listeners who are
Don't be afraid.
unfamiliar, the Business Agility Report is based around the domains of business agility, which is a behavioral and capability model. And as a model for organizations, leadership behaviors make up more than half of the behaviors that we study when we look at organizations, especially when we study organizations directly, not just in the Business Agility Report. This year, we saw fairly leadership behaviors did go up, but not as much as some of the other behaviors. Leadership behaviors were just went up a little bit. Right? The one area, the one capability that I would highlight for leaders needing to focus on is what we call the ability to empower with accountability. It is something that a lot of leaders and organizations struggle with. It's the lowest rated of the leadership capabilities. And this year, I mean, it's still good, but it's not great. When we talk about empower with accountability, we're talking about two things that need to be in balance. Empowerment, creating like delegating to your teams, to individuals is important. But empowerment without accountability is laissez-faire. It is anyone can do anything. And on the other hand, accountability, the ability for individuals to take ownership of the work that they do. Accountability without empowerment is command and control. Jorge, just like you were mentioning a moment ago. What is important is for leaders to be able to develop both in their or across their organization. But most organizations that start on a business agility journey, most organizations focus on the empowerment piece. Right? They teach their managers how to delegate, how to be servant leaders, how to empower. But they don't teach their staff how to take ownership, how to be held to account, which is just as much a skill as delegation is. Yeah. And so you get this complaint from leaders of we're trying to empower, but our teams aren't taking ownership. And in large part, it's because you haven't taught your teams how to take ownership, how to be held to account in a psychologically safe way. And that imbalance is one of the largest areas that I would say leaders need to improve. Laura, how
Uh,
does that do?
Oh, you did. I should have given you a whole bunch of clappy reactions because my first thought was exactly that around empower with accountability. I will add just a very quick thought that goes with that. One of the other key capabilities for leadership is to realize people's potential. So, in other words, to help create the context and the environment and the development opportunities for your organization so that people can grow professionally and continue to contribute to their organization and grow in the interest of their career. We just finished a profile for a company in the Middle East where they scored in this assessment of how are they doing with respect to the 18 capabilities for business agility. They scored very highly in many cases, but one of the places for their growth is the idea of their leaders learning how to coach their teams to develop those skills. And then that ties into what you were talking about empower with accountability is the leader needs to have the vision for the behaviors that are needed in the organization, recognize where the gaps are, and then have the conversations on a frequent, informal, casual basis to say, hey, Evan, I noticed this thing when let's talk about it, and have that coaching conversation. So I would marry those two things in terms of leadership here, and it's so critical. So, Jorge, we'll bounce it back to you and see what
Yeah,
other questions.
there's a lot of stuff around this leadership thing because there's a concept of about the distance to the power, for instance, and this means that organizations should build in their cultures and operations something called psychological safety, uh, where people can talk straight to the power and let them know that perhaps they are not in with what they are saying or something like that. People and not be afraid of being fired or something like that. How are you? What are you seeing about uh, the the organizations more mature in business agility are doing with this stuff about psychological safety? Uh, what are do you have some observations about that?
Uh, so it's an interesting topic because I think most companies now understand how important psychological safety is. And when we assess companies, we often see a good, middle strong, score for embed psychological safety, which is one of the 18 capabilities. Now, that said, um, that's really good news because psychological safety is one of the foundations for agility in
Right.
general. It's hard to do other things if you don't have psychological safety. The interesting thing, though, is that we talk when we do these assessments, these profiles, we look at executives, leaders, and the individual contributors, team members. And we ask slightly different questions. One is for the leaders, we ask, when I make a mistake, I admit that I'm wrong. And then we asked their team members. I've seen my manager admit when when they have made a mistake and when the manager is wrong. And what we're looking for is how well do those align? And I will tell you that almost 100% of these profiles that we do, there is a fairly large gap between the leaders think they're better than the individual contributors see them as. And so now I think what we have to do is re-educate, raise awareness, and help people understand that that gap needs to get smaller. And so, help the leaders understand that just because they know it's important doesn't mean they've developed the habit and the skills that like make that happen on a regular basis.
Okay, Ivan, something to add? Okay.
No, that's +1 to everything Laura just said.
Okay.
Yay!
Now, regarding business agility, it's a huge promise for a company to say that we want to be business agility. But what are I mean, do you have in mind some tangible benefits in those organizations that are more ahead in the maturity in the agility, Evan?
So, my favorite question. So, we've obviously been tracking benefits for 8 years. And for years, organizations have shared with us that they are seeing tangible benefits, improved commercial business outcomes, improved customer centricity, improved product quality, improved employee engagement. But this year, we wanted to see if we could quantify that. Now, this is where I have to put a little bit of statistics, my statistician hat on, and say that when you're trying to attribute, right, we made this change to the organization or these changes, right, did these changes impact the organizational revenue or some business level metric? Now, the challenge with that, unfortunately, is that is a very hard thing to directly attribute because there are hundreds of other variables, the market, the competitors, things outside your control that will impact that as well. So what we look for is rather than direct attribution, we're looking for trends, relationships. And this year, we brought in 2 additional data sources from the survey. So the survey, where we ask people to describe the agility that their organization has, gives us the behaviors or sorry, the capabilities of an organization. That's the business agility piece. This year, we went and we accessed and downloaded the annual reports from as many companies as we could. Now, not every company publishes their annual report, but about half do, publicly listed companies and large organizations, not-for-profits. We also went and accessed their Glassdoor ratings. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, Glassdoor is a website that allows people to rate their organizations and say, would you recommend your employer to a friend? Would you recommend somebody works there? And we use the Glassdoor ratings as a proxy for employee engagement because companies don't publish their employee engagement scores mostly. And what we found was that, yes, there were a direct relationship between both revenue And we looked primarily at revenue per employee because the companies that we were looking at had a very wide size range and a wide range of industries. So revenue was too unclear, too variable. So revenue per employee and employee engagement, Glassdoor scores. And what we found from a revenue standpoint, over the last 7 years, right, the entire group of companies that we were studying, their revenues all went up on average 24%.
Oh my God.
Now, that's good. When we looked at it from the perspective of their business agility, has their business agility improved or decreased during that time? And what we found is that in that group of organizations, those organizations that saw increasing business agility improved their revenue by employee by 31% compared to 24. Whereas those organizations that decreased their business agility, as in got worse over that same period, their revenue per employee only went up 8%. So the good way of thinking of this is, would you rather 8% growth or 31% growth? I don't know about you, but I think most organizations would prefer the 31% growth, which comes from increased business agility. We saw the same trends with employee engagement scores or Glassdoor scores. When we looked at those same organizations, those that increased business agility, right, over that same time period, there was a 10% increase in would you recommend your organization to a friend? And for those whose business agility decreased, there was a 4% drop in would you recommend this organization to a friend? So 14% difference in total. So what is, I think, absolutely fantastic this year is there's always been a moral imperative for business agility. It's the right thing to do for your staff to be more empowering, to be more human-centric. It's the right thing for your customers. But for the first time, we can talk to those people who are data-driven, right? Show me the bottom line. And we can make it very clear that these combination of capabilities and behaviors, the ability to prioritize, the ability to fiercely champion the customer, to sense and respond proactively, have a clear and direct relationship to organizational revenue and employee engagement.
Wow,
Yay! Sorry.
That's very insightful. Now I understand why this is a good question for you, Evan. Thank you very much. It's quite a finding. This information is gold. If what you are saying is that if organizations are improving their business agility behaviors, they will be there good results in ROI and good results in employee engagement, which I think are two great indicators of a company health, let's say.
Yep. Now, to be clear, we're talking about trends. So an individual company is going to have its own performance, its own journey. But the global trend, regardless of industry or region, is exactly what I said.
Okay. Thank you, Ivan. I think there is still this in my experience, what I have seen in my consulting practice, there is still this thinking about being agile is just improve the way IT works and delivers the IT solutions for the company. And as we have found, it's much more than that. So, Laura, what steps do you think an organization should take to integrate agility across all business functions? And besides that, to achieve that people internalize what what agility means more than a bunch of processes or methods or
Yeah.
whatever.
So I like to start with the thing that was the light bulb moment for me with respect to business agility, because um, there was a point in time where I didn't really understand it. Talking to this guy named Evan Laybourne, and he talked about something that it was like, I get it now. And you've probably heard him talk about his Evan's theory of agile constraints. And it says that an organization can only be as agile as its least agile part. And so for an organization whose product is, developing software, and they've got their Scrum teams and their Kanban teams, and the IT department has, there's agile in that part of their organization. I'm willing to bet you that the constraint for that organization is not there anymore, but it is outside of there. Maybe it is their legal department and how they do licensing, or it's their how they incentivize and reward people. So HR or people operations or someplace else is the bottleneck. So we can continue to work to help the software product teams be more agile and more effective, and they'll produce more stuff, but these other things are what is holding the company back. And so the place to start with for me is that conversation of just, where is it hurting for you in your organization? Where's the pain? And let's talk about that with respect to theory of constraints. And then if we help that change, then the flow through the organization will be better, yes. And you'll start to see those benefits. And it takes companies a long time to get to this. There's a financial services organization that we're working with who when we talk to the transformation team, they have known for a long time that the organization is not put together in a way that's conducive for agility. And there's too much focus in some places and no focus in other places. And finally, that company has decided that local optimization isn't going to get them the amount of improvements in time to market and productivity that they need, and they're going to have to look at the larger system and how value flows through it in order to get what they need for the marketplace. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
start with the pain.
that's a huge challenge. I mean, looking at the Perry system and to make the improvements that going overall, not everybody is looking at the system as a whole. I mean,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, let's talk about some broader trends and business agility. For instance, we all know that right now the AI revolution is in the perhaps in the going to
Increasing.
top of the hill. I mean, yeah. How can organizations leverage AI to enhance agility and while addressing the over regulation, for instance, all the financial institutions are overregulated, and and in this world, emerging risks and disruptions are the I mean the normal business.
Yeah.
So, Evan, what do you think about
So,
this?
Laura's answer applies here as well. So let's take artificial intelligence, and I'm going to take it from the other perspective. How can business agility help artificial intelligence,
Okay.
rather than necessarily the other way around? Um, we are running a study at the moment on what does it take to unlock the benefits of artificial intelligence, not what does it take to deliver an AI product. There's enough information out there on that already. There's not much we could add to that. But if your artificial intelligence strategy, if your goals is to increase productivity by 3 times, can your leaders make decisions 3 times faster? Can you reprioritize 3 times faster? Can you get market feedback 3 times faster? And the answer is no for most organizations. What we've found in this piece of research that is going to be published in early next year, we've identified what are the top constraints to agility. Sorry, not to agility. Sorry, to AI. And it's things like funding models. It's data quality, which is obvious, but it's decision speed and decision quality from leaders. We've identified a series of 9 different common constraints across the organizational system. The constraint to artificial intelligence, much like the constraint to business agility, is not in the AI system itself. It's not in the technology. It's in the system that technology exists within. Now, this is where the other part of the equation, where can business agility help unlock artificial intelligence? And we know, and we've seen in this study that we're doing, that capabilities like the ability to cultivate a learning organization or the ability to fund work dynamically are absolutely critical to unlock those benefits. And organizations that do them well can operate at the speed of AI, right? And those that don't. Now, I'd like to just sort of, however, just bring 2 concepts into this conversation, right? Because these are critical principles that I think a lot of organizations misunderstand. The first is that artificial intelligence, and I'm specifically talking generative AI here, is not an automation technology. It is the most expensive automation technology you could use. What it is an augmentation technology. Unlike the Industrial Revolution and many other disruptive technologies that takes the human out of the system and replaces it with a machine, artificial intelligence is one of the first disruptive technologies that enhances. It's a force multiplier to the human in the system. It's like, I don't know, wearing power armor. It gives the human in the system greater capability. Right? Now, the other thing to be mindful of, one of the quotes from the expert panel who's taking part in this research is that artificial intelligence is like having an unlimited number of junior employees. And if you think about it, that's actually pretty true. But how do you manage junior employees? There is a skill set necessary that is, like, management skills are like rare. And so there is a skill gap in how people can use these generative AI systems inside their organizations. And let's take a software example. One of the other quotes that comes from this expert panel is that we need our software developers to become software composers. Right? We need our project managers to be project composers. Right? Their job is not just to write the code or to manage the project. Their job is to, like a composer, like a conductor, like someone who is creating a symphony. You are now working not with your two hands, but you're working with this unlimited number of junior staff, and you have to manage and quality check and coordinate and integrate. And that's a different skill set than most people have. So one of the other key concepts here, or the key areas that organizations need to be mindful of, is that the human, AI needs the human in the system, and the human in the system needs to be developed and improved new capabilities in order to be effective in this new environment with their artificial intelligence colleagues. Jorge, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Eva, for your very clear answer about this, and I like this quote about having a unlimited workforce of junior employees. That's very true.
And very scary.
Also, yeah. Well, I have a lot of questions, but we are running out of time, and I would like to, if I am in a huge or any organizations, and I want to understand where we are in the spectrum of business agility maturity, what can I do? I mean, it's just a checklist of signs that I can see, or how do you understand where a company is located in this journey of business agility, Laura?
Ah, so so one thing is Evan has put into our chat to the host a link to the overview for the domains of business agility, and a really awesome guy translated that into Spanish. I think his name is Jorge. Anyways, so I would say step number one is to take a look at that document and to understand and to learn more about the domains and capabilities of business agility. And then one of the options is to talk to BAI about conducting what we've referenced, the profile, so the business agility profile, which is a snapshot of your organization in terms of where are you strong with respect to your capabilities, where do you need to grow, and then also what are the recommendations for the next step for your organization to continue to build the capabilities. And we provide lots of ideas, but the basis of this is if you want to shift the culture in your organization, that boils down to shifting behaviors in your organization. There are a lot of options, and this profile will help you decide how to focus and where to focus with respect to that. Um, and we have it in Spanish, Arabic, Portuguese, and many other languages. So uh, it's something that it's just a really useful snapshot. Now, one of the things that we're working on uh, with BAI is to extend this to a second option, which is a leadership 360 assessment for individual leaders to say, where are you strong as a leader and where do you need to grow in order to help create and develop this level of human-centric ways of working in your organization. So it's going to be a separate assessment, but in alignment with the profile, which will look at the org, and the leadership 360 then will help people understand, how do I need to help. What can I do as a leader in my organization to help create greater business agility? So stay tuned for that.
So I think it's a great news because we were talking about trying to influence the system as a whole, and with these kind of pictures, we can understand better where are the leverage to start making this change.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
okay,
Absolutely.
we have 9 minutes, and I would like to ask the audience if they have questions. They provide the questions in the QA sections. And in the meantime, I will return the control of the webinar to Hugo to start closing, not without thanking you very much, guys, for being here. I really appreciate your willingness to share with us and with our community in Latin America. I think we have a great opportunities in the region, and business agility, I think, is the future for the way to do business. So we are trying to engage our organizations in this journey to improve their bottom line. Thank you very much. Really appreciate. Hugo, ¿andas por ahí?
Hola, hola. Sí, ya estoy aquí, aquí he estado de regreso y qué interesante plática nos acaban de regalar tanto Evan como Laura como tú, Jorge. Definitivamente creo que es, como dices, hay grandes oportunidades para la región. Y bueno, pues agradecerles obviamente a todas las personas que están aquí conectados por permanecer con nosotros. Agradecer también a Daniel con la traducción que estuvo también ahí participando con nosotros. Y obviamente invitarlos antes de despedirnos y antes de que se me vayan
Espera,
a
Hugo.
mande, mande.
Perdón, estaba viendo que hay algunas preguntas. Me gustaría nada más.
Adelante, adelante, por favor, adelante.
I'm sorry. Daniel Villalobos, Laura, he says, Laura mentioned that an organization is only as agile as its least agile part. What are typically the least agile part?
Oh, that's a good question. And I can tell Evan is itching from Australia to answer this question, but I think I will do him proud. We often find that organizations have done a lot of work to inspire more agile behaviors in their organization, and there's often a gap then with the policies and procedures and governance for the organization. So, as an example, we work with the people to focus on teams and develop teams and do all of this wonderful work 364 days a year. And on that last day of the year, we say, Jorge, we need to do your performance evaluation as an individual. I'm going to tell you, Jorge, you're good at this, and this is where you need to improve. And here's where your your bonus and your pay raise maybe would be for the next year. So it's the governance, the policies, the procedures, the systems that don't support the behaviors is the most common issue that we see. Lots of other ones, depending on the company. Now I'm getting a cough, just like you, Jorge, but that's the one that's the most common. And I think I would bet a large pile of money that that's exactly what Evan would have said as well.
Yeah. I would just to add to that, we know from the data that the capabilities within the flexible operations domain, balance, governance, and risk, fund work dynamically, are the last ones they're the last ones to be established. The customer-centric or the cultural capability, like the engaged culture or the responsive customer centricity capabilities, these come out, or these start to emerge after about 1 to 3 years of change, of transformation. But funds work dynamically can take up to 8 years for an organization to establish that. That's not, by the way, 8 years of transformation, but it's 8 years of change, 8 years of moving towards business agility, formally or informally.
Okay.
So yeah, it's and we see this all the time. This is like we ask people to behave in a particular way, and then the systems of the organization just like undermine what we're asking them to do.
Thank you very much. Now, go ahead, Hugo. I'm sorry.
No te preocupes, amigo. Todo bien. Quería mandar la encuesta de salida, obviamente, para que nos ayuden a seguir mejorando acerca de todos estos temas. ¿Qué otros temas también les pueden llegar a interesar? ¿Qué les pareció el webinar? Entonces, espero que nos puedan apoyar con sus respuestas. Y por lo mientras, en lo que nos están ayudando a responder, quiero compartir rápidamente algunas cosas antes de irnos. Este, bueno, en primera, obviamente, invitarlos a seguir participando en todos los eventos que tenemos para todos ustedes. Tenemos algunos cursos adicionales a los cuales nos gustaría que también participaran y conocieran. Tenemos ya nuevas fechas para el próximo año, para el 2025. Ya tenemos los próximos cursos PMP, empezando 15 de enero, 21 de enero y también tenemos algunas fechas en febrero. Para el PMI-ACP, que recordaremos que se actualizó recientemente. Bueno, pues empezamos el 5 de mayo de 2025 con este curso de PMI-ACP, con obviamente ya todos los cambios necesarios. Tenemos el taller de dirección de proyectos con enfoques híbridos para el próximo 3 de marzo. Tenemos el de ASM, el curso de ASM, 28 de enero, también ahí vamos a estar presentes. Tenemos el de riesgos para el 24 de febrero, este curso que justamente dirige Jorge Valdés. Y tenemos el PM4R Professional que se va a llevar a cabo el 6 jueves, el 30 de enero de 2025. Comenzamos y también nuestro próximo webinar que comenzaría, que sería el miércoles 15 de enero de 2025, 12 horas igual, horario de webinars, que se llama Agile Coach de la A a la Z, aplicando el caso real de proyecto de 36 millones con Edgar Vázquez de Proyectum Costa Rica. Entonces, mi queridísimo Jorge, antes de partir, algunos comentarios finales.
Do you have final thoughts, Evan, Laura?
No, just thank you so much for inviting us. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Yeah, I echo the gratitude. Thank you so much for including us. And I think that we need to do more of these. So if your community is interested in this, then let's see about not waiting a year to do another one of these or to find some other ways to work with your community. So look forward to that.
For your offering, Laura, and Eva, Laura, really appreciate your willingness to share with us. Happy holidays.
Yes.
Enjoy with your family. Take a rest. Start 2025 2025 with all the energy. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
From here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye.
Muchísimas gracias, amigo. Muchísimas gracias a todos y estamos seguros que nos vamos a ver en la próxima. Hasta luego y feliz Navidad y próspero año 2025.
Bye.